Today in Capechi's Corner, we're going to look at order of operations. When I use the word evaluate, we've talked about this before. That means find the value of an expression. So I'm giving it a value, I'm going to give it a number of the given expression. So for instance, if I have 3 to the 4th, that means I'm taking 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times since it's to the 4th power, which is 81. That's the value if I'm asked to evaluate that expression. Same thing with 2 to the 7th. I'm multiplying 2 7 times. I can use my calculator if I want this, or if I need to do it by hand, I certainly can. And that value is 128. When talking about order of operations, a lot of teachers use the phrase Pemdas, and this seems to help students remember. It stands for please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. More importantly, how does that relate to math? So P is the parentheses, meaning you do any parentheses first, or any grouping symbol such as brackets. We're going to work inside to outside if there's more than one set. The next thing we're going to do in our set of order operations would be exponents. So you're going to clean up any powers that you have. Then we move on to multiplication and division. So we have multiply or divide from left to right. And then we're going to add and subtract from left to right. So that's the order. First we deal with the parentheses or any grouping symbols. Then we deal with the exponents. Then we go left to right, and from left to right, and we go multiply in anything that needs to be divided. And the last thing we're going to do again from left to right is addition and subtraction. Okay, and looking at our first example, the directions tell us to evaluate the expression, so we're going to find a value. And I noticed in number 1 that there's parentheses, so I know I need to work with that first. So I'm just going to rewrite what I have initially, 3 plus 4 squared minus, and in parentheses I have 16 minus 12, which is positive 4. Now I'm going to clean up my exponents. That's my next item in order of operations. So I have 3 plus 4 squared is 16, and that becomes a negative 4. I can rewrite that a little bit. That makes it a little easier for you. So 3 plus 16, I'm now going left to right for addition and subtraction. Gives me 19 minus 4 gives me 15. So 15 is my final answer. In number 2, I have 2 plus 7 times 2 minus 3. So what needs to be done first, I don't have any parentheses, I don't have any exponents, but I do have multiplication. So I'm just going to rewrite that 2 plus 7 times 2 gives me 14 minus 3. This is where a lot of students make a mistake. Instead of multiplying 7 times 2 first, a lot of times they add 2 plus 7. So you just have to be careful that you're always following the correct steps. Now I only have addition and subtraction, so we'll work that left to right. So 2 plus 14 gives me 16, minus 3 gives me 13, so that's my final answer. Moving on to number 3, I have 2 sets of grouping symbols, or I have brackets and parentheses, so I'm going to work from inside to outside. So first I'm going to rewrite my brackets. So I have 2 minus. Now here's my inside. 4 minus 1 gives me 3, and then I'm going to rewrite 2 times 3. Okay, so I still have to worry about my grouping symbol. So 2 minus 3 gives me negative 1. Plus now I can move on to multiplication. 2 times 3 gives me 6. So my final answer, my final value for that one is 5. And number 4, I have still a lot of things going on there. I don't have any grouping symbols this time, but I do have some exponents. So I have 16 minus 8 divided by 2 squared is 4 plus 14. Okay, now I have a division. I have negative 8 divided by 4, so that needs to be done first. So I'm just going to take my 16, rewrite it. Negative 8 divided by 4 gives me negative 2, and then I'm going to add 14. Now on this line I only have left addition and subtraction, so I'm going to go left to right. 16 minus 2 gives me 14. I'm going to add 14 there. My final value is 28. In number 5, I have a fraction bar, so that means I have a numerator and a denominator, so I'm going to clean those up separately. I'm going to simplify those, and then at the end I will simplify my entire fraction. So if I'm just first looking at my numerator, I don't have any grouping symbols, so I'll worry about my exponents first. That gives me 32. 2 to the 5th is 32. And now I can worry about multiplication. So I have 6 times 2 gives me 12. My denominator, same thing. I don't have any parentheses, but I do have exponents. 3 to the 3rd gives me 27. Now I can work on multiplication. 5 times 3 gives me 15, minus 2. My numerator, 32 minus 12, gives me 20. My denominator of 27 minus 15 minus 2. So I can just subtract left to right. So 27 minus 15 gives me 12. Minus 2 gives me 10. 20 divided by 10 gives me 2. That's my final answer there. For number 6, it says evaluate when x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 3. And we're looking at the expression 5 times x times y, 5xy. So I'm simply going to substitute. So 5 times 2 times 3. And now that I have all multiplication, I'm going to work left to right. So 5 times 2 gives me 10, times 3 gives me 30. That's my final value right there. For my final example, I have evaluate when a is equal to 4, b is equal to 5, and c is equal to 3. So I have a to the third times the quantity of 3b plus 5 divided by the quantity of c plus 7. So first I'm going to do is substitute all my values. So I have 4 to the third times 3 times 5 plus 5 divided by 3 plus 7. So I have to clean up my parentheses. So this gives me 15 plus 5. Again, I'm going to do multiplication before I do addition, divided by, and this set of parentheses, 3 plus 7 gives me 10. I'm still worrying about my parentheses, my grouping symbol. So I have 4 to the third times 20 divided by 10. So I have 4 to the third, which is 64, times 20 is divided by 10. Now I have multiplication and division from left to right. So 64 times 20 gives me 1,280. Divide that by 10, and my final answer is 128.